Look, I wonder if you ever look down at the moles and the spots on your arms and think, I should probably get those checked. And then, of course, life gets busy. It's time for dinner. We all put off going to the doctor. Well, if you have any questions about skin cancer, how to spot it, how to treat it, now's your chance, because joining me in the studio is a world expert on melanoma, Professor Grant MacArthur, and he's willing to take your calls this afternoon. A free service on Drive, 1300 222 720. Grant, welcome to Perth.
Well, it's great to be here, Russell.
Thanks very much for coming into the studio. For those of us who spent a bit too much time in the sun when we were younger, are there things that we should be looking out for in our skin?
Well, I think there's two key messages. The first one is don't forget to look after your skin now. It's never too late to be sun smart and protect yourself from the harmful effects of UV radiation in our sun, because we can get skin cancers throughout life, particularly when you're older. The fastest growing group of new melanomas in Australia are, in fact, people aged over 60. So it's never too late to be sun smart.
Wow. And I would have assumed that came from something that started decades earlier, but is it new melanomas after the age of 60?
That's correct. I mean, it takes many years after exposure for a melanoma to form, but if you're getting melanomas in your 60s and your 70s, then a lot of that exposure happened in midlife, so it's never too late to be sun smart. In terms of other things to look out for, the simplest way I like is a thing called the ugly duckling sign. So if anything is changing on your skin and it doesn't look right, you make sure you go to your doctor. And also, when you're seeing your GP for other reasons, you can get your GP to look at your skin and do a check as well. Highly cost effective. Our politicians should love that.
1300 222 720 if you would like to ask Professor Grant MacArthur a question to do with melanoma. 1300 222 720. We have him for another 7 minutes. I encourage you to use him this afternoon on Drive. When you go to a doctor, I always think, how do they know that your moles may have changed in shape or colour if they hadn't seen them previously?
Yes, there's certainly some emerging evidence that photography of the skin is useful.
Yeah.
So clinics and doctors can do skin photography as a reference to compare. And certainly if you've got a lot of moles that are very different in shape and size, skin photography is a useful way to make that comparison. If you're someone that doesn't have many moles, then your doctor can make a very good assessment. But some of us have a lot of moles, particularly variation in their shape and size, and that's particularly where the photography is useful. And there's a number of skin clinics and dermatologists that are offering that service now.
And then you talk about how, a melanoma develops over a period of time. So there is nothing I can do to prevent something that's already occurring, is there?
Yeah, we certainly don't have any evidence that you can turn back the clock and undo the damage that the UV's done. So UV radiation from the sun or from solariums, and I hope none of your listeners use solariums, but UV from the sun damages the DNA in our cells. It mutates the DNA. So once that mutation's there, you can't undo it. You can stop new mutations forming by looking after yourself and being sun smart, but you can't undo it. So then it's important, if something starts to change, to get it removed early. So early detection and prevention, both extremely important to reduce the burden of melanoma.
And the slip, slop, slap is the best thing. And we can just say that again and again and again, but you're repeating it. But I mean, that's the fact, is that
absolutely.
If you're going out in the sun, prepare yourself to go out in the sun. Do you know?
And we've added to that now seek and slide. So seek shade.
Yes.
So research has shown that if you provide shade for people, they'll use it, and that reduces the UV radiation to the skin. And also slide on your sunnies, because you can get UV damage to the eyes as well.
Very good. All right. There's a number of businesses that have opened up in the last few years that are to do with photographing your skin. And I wonder about them. Are they the right people to go to, or are you better off going to a GP? So
I always advise people a very simple way of determining whether your doctor, whether it be the clinic or whether it be your GP, is really skilled in looking after skin. Number one is that when they do a skin exam, they take all your clothes off to your underwear. None of this sort of bit of a look underneath the shirt sort of thing. You need to take all your clothes off other than your underwear to have a look. And secondly, there's a technique called dermoscopy, which is the best way of working out whether a mole is likely to be a melanoma or not. And this is like a magnifying glass you put on the skin. So if your doctor does takes your clothes off to your underwear and uses dermoscopy, you know they've been highly trained and are skilled in the area. Photography, emerging evidence that it's useful, not proven to reduce the burden of melanoma, but it certainly can be useful, particularly in people with a lot of moles.
I just wonder about these businesses that are set up specifically for these sorts of things, for photographing you and then just, I guess giving you advice about whether or not you should have it treated or worked on. And that seeing as that's their business, a part of me just feels like maybe they'd be, let's say overcautious and be ripping moles off for the sake of it in order to keep the cash register turning over, it could be completely unfair.
Well, it is a commercial enterprise, of course, but it's providing, a useful service. I say, what do I do? So, I'm a melanoma specialist. What do I do? Well, I take my clothes off when I go and see my GP, and he has a very good look at my skin.
Terry's called up with a question. Hello, Terry.
Oh, hi, Russell. How are you?
Very well, thanks.
Look, I went to my local GP a while ago. I have a crustacean on my left arm, and the doctor said to me that I thought it was a melanoma, and he said, no, it's a wart, right? And he applied some liquid nitrogen to it, and the scab, if you like, came off within about a week. Should I get a second opinion on that, or?
So thanks very much for the call. So generally, crusty areas on the skin are what we call solar keratoses, or occasionally early squamous cell skin cancers. Yeah. And there's also a warty-like growth we call seborrheic keratosis. They're the most common ones. All of those can be dealt with the exception of the cancerous ones, with dry ice. But certainly the one we don't like is if it's a mole. We don't like applying dry ice to moles because they're the ones that could be melanoma, and you need to have those cut out, not burnt off.
So would you suggest going back to my local GP and just having a second opinion on it?
I think if you've ever got any questions, which clearly you have, it's always good to go back and have another talk to your doctor about that.
Well done, Terry. Thank you so much for calling up. Adrian, welcome. Sorry, there we are. Adrian, there you go.
Hello, Russ. I've got a question. When I was growing up, I used to always get told, don't let your skin get burned. And it was always the slip, slop, slap. And you go out in the sun, and if you, at the end of the day, you looked at your skin and it wasn't red, that was okay. Whereas now, there was that ad, especially last summer, where it's graphically showing you all this, deformities and horrible stuff that was happening to your skin. And then at the end of the ad, it said, and that's before you even start getting burned. It was just to me a bit of a doom and gloom, and I'd just like to know the actual truth behind it.
Yeah, so basically when you get sunburnt, that's due to a very acute high dose of UV radiation damaging the cells in your skin. When you tan, that's also a radiation response in your skin, but it's more gradual and slow. So either way, tanning or burning is a sign that you've got UV radiation damage to your skin, and so we, do not recommend sun-seeking and getting tans. We recommend, protecting your skin, and fair complexion is okay. That's a good message, I think.
I don't think, Sue, we're going to have time actually to go to you. I'm sorry, but I appreciate you calling up. Are you giving a talk anywhere while you're visiting Perth?
Yeah, we're giving tomorrow a free public lecture at the State Library at 12:30 on the war against melanoma. It's time for Australia to declare war on this disease.
I think it is too. It's brilliant that you're here and you're willing to come in and have a chat to us. It's something that scares the heck out of all of Australians, I think.
Yes, and it is Australia's disease, the highest rates in the world. So that is actually appropriate, Russell.
Yeah, it is. Okay, I appreciate you being with us. My guest on Drive this afternoon, Professor Grant MacArthur.